Calgary versus Edmonton. Which, why, when, where, how. One time I told this girl I'm from Trinidad. She's like, Trinidad? I'm like, yeah, it's close to Jamaica. She's like, Caribbean. I'm like, yes, the Caribbean, right? And then she asked me, so is that off the coast of Africa? So Calgary versus Edmonton. Let's dive right into it. So again, my name is Kelly's Travels, and on this channel we talk about immigration adventures. My family and I, consisted of my husband, my 2 young kids, and myself. We landed in Calgary, Alberta in May of 2019. So that's about 2 years now, a little less than 2 years. And we lived there. We landed there, we lived there, and then we moved to Clarendon, Alberta for 6 months, which is a small town in Alberta, 3,000 people. That's a different topic. And then we moved back to Calgary, and then we moved to Edmonton. So I think that I'm really in a good place to touch on this topic because I've lived in both cities as a newcomer, a new immigrant in both of these cities. So I can give you like a fair idea of what I experienced and how it is to actually live in these 2 cities. 4 points or 4 pillars that I'm going to touch on, and I'm going to compare Calgary and Edmonton. I think this is a fair way to start. Please subscribe to my channel, so click that subscribe, go check out all of my videos and hit that notification button so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be the first to know it. The first topic I have here is beauty. So between Calgary and Edmonton, which city is more beautiful? And I would have to say that it is Calgary. So Calgary is just a newer city. It's just more aesthetically pleasing to the eye to look at, right? Just from driving around Calgary, I can tell you it's just a more beautiful city than Edmonton. Edmonton is an older city. The roads are a bit more bumpy here, but it's still beautiful, don't get me wrong, but just Calgary is definitely more beautiful. The second one I have on this list is cost of living. So Calgary and Edmonton are both in Alberta, which means that the taxes are the same between the 2 cities. So there's not much of a big difference in terms of cost of living, but I should mention that the cost of buying a house here in Edmonton is a little cheaper than the cost of buying a house in Calgary. And that was actually one of the deciding factors in where we wanted to live, right? Where we wanted to buy a house, because we were looking to purchase a house, and we definitely realized that, hey, we get more for our money in Edmonton than in Calgary. And I was like, bye. It wasn't like that. I was like, bye. Sorry, I have to go, but Edmonton is calling my name. The cost of living in Calgary and Edmonton are the same, but the cost of buying a home is a bit cheaper in Edmonton. At least that is from my experience. Weather. So the weather in Calgary and Edmonton is basically the same as well. So statistically speaking though, Edmonton tends to be a bit colder because it's more to the north than Calgary. But I've experienced Calgary in both Edmonton and I've experienced winter, in both Edmonton and Calgary, and I couldn't tell the difference. It's the same. The only thing that I noticed is that in Calgary, they get something called Chinooks, and it has this big long explanation of what a Chinook is. But from a newcomer's definition of what a Chinook is, it's warm air coming in, warming everything down, melting all the snow. You feel like it's spring, and it stays there for like a couple days, and then all of a sudden it's back to winter. So it's like a mini spring in the middle of winter. It happens a couple times. It's like a nice little break. And in Edmonton, I did not see any Chinooks. I don't even think that they get them up here. So that's the only major difference between winters in Edmonton compared to winters in Calgary. You don't get those Chinooks. Now, I would say as well that Chinooks, I don't know if y'all could agree with me, for those of you who have experienced winter here, but when everything cools down, when everything warms up, and the ice melts, it makes like ice, like slippery ice that you could fall on. Like, I fell many times in winter in Calgary because it was just so damn slippery. But here in Edmonton, you know what, scratch that. I fell a lot of times here in Edmonton too. It's probably just me, I have bad knees, guys. I have bad knees. So, but the weather is basically the same. So if you're thinking, okay, one over the other is a deciding factor for weather, think again. If you're coming to Alberta, be prepared for Alberta weather. I don't think you can get away from harsh winters and warm summers, right? Think about like minus 40 something, minus 50 something with wind chill. Yeah, and as a girl coming from the Caribbean, I will tell you, if I can survive it, you can survive it. It's not as bad as you would think, but it is definitely cold, right? So in between Calgary and Edmonton, you're still going to be cold in winter, so that is not even a deciding factor. So on my list here, the next thing I have is diversity, and I actually have that last. So I would say, in terms of diversity between Edmonton and Calgary is not much of a difference either. So as a black person coming from the Caribbean, as an Afro-Caribbean, when I say diversity, I mean when I walk around, how many other black people do I see? How many people of color do I see, right? And I would say it's the same between Calgary and Edmonton. I would probably narrow it down to 1 in every 20 people you see probably might be somebody of color. And when I say somebody of color, I also include non-black people of color as well, right? So like 1 in every 20 people you see would be somebody who's someone of color, right? Now, I would say that in Edmonton, there are more Afro-Caribbeans. So there's a more active Caribbean population here in Edmonton than there is in Calgary, even though there's the same diversity, I would say, between the two cities, right? So 9 out of 10 times, if you see someone black in Calgary, they're probably African, from Africa, right? While here in Edmonton, it's like 50-50. They're either Afro-Caribbean or they're African from Africa, right? And what does this mean? How does this translate into like everyday living? It means that if I want to get a roti, I can probably find it here. And I did find roti in Calgary as well. I did, so I'm not going to say no, but just that people know you here. When you say you're from the Caribbean, people know what you mean because they're familiar with the culture, right? They're familiar. And it's nice to not see a blank expression when you tell someone you're from Trinidad. And I experienced that a lot in Calgary. Like, I remember this one time I told this girl, I'm from Trinidad. She's like, Trinidad? I'm like, yeah, it's close to Jamaica. She's like, Caribbean. I'm like, yes, the Caribbean, right? And then she asked me, so is that off the coast of Africa? Yeah, she did ask if the Caribbean was off the coast of Africa. Now, this is a real exception to the rule. Like, not everyone is that ignorant to geography, right? But it's just saying that when you speak and people don't really understand where you're coming from, like the history behind where you came from, it's harder for them to understand your temperament. And in the Caribbean, people are very relaxed. We like to laugh. We like to kicks. We're very laid back, relaxed people. We like to be happy. All right, we love to be happy. We don't like to stress too much. And at the same time, we can be very, how do you say it? I like to say Caribbean people are nice, but not necessarily polite. While Canadians are really polite, but not necessarily nice, right? So there's like a bit of a culture gap there, but it's nice when you can find your people and you can have people that understand you. And you also get the opportunity still to learn about other cultures and to see other people and learn about their culture, understand their temperament as well, right? So I love living in a diverse city because I get to learn about other people's culture and they get to learn about mine. But it's also really nice to be able to find your people, to find your tribe when you want to be able to speak and say words like bacchanal and tabanca without it sparking a whole other conversation because people have no idea what you're talking about, right? So yeah, guys, this is just part 1 of this video. Comment below if you want to see a part 2 and probably put some topics as well of things like you want me to compare Calgary and Edmonton with. Because I've been getting some really good reviews from y'all. A lot of y'all have reached out to me on Instagram, and if you don't know how to get there, just look below, there's a link there. Fill it out, connect with me on Instagram, send me a DM. I'm very active on Instagram. But yeah, it's nice to know that I'm meeting a need and that y'all are actually getting value in the posts that I post and the content that I'm creating. I'm also a business coach and I'm launching this program for women to help them with self-sabotage along the entrepreneurial journey. So if you want to check that out as well, there's a survey, that exact link that I sent below there. But yeah, connect with me, like, subscribe, and click that notification button. And I hope to see you along this journey. Have a good day, guys, and remember to be safe. Stay safe and be positive. Bye.